Coming up on AC 24/7, financial turmoil across the world has financial institutions worried. What this means for Americans and the banking system. Plus, the FCC is cracking down on spam texts. What this means for cell phone users and how to block those annoying messages. Hey there, welcome to AC 24/7. I'm your host, Lamar Baldwin. The world finances are in turmoil with the downfall of Silicon Valley Bank and the $53 million loan for credit. The Advocate Channel's Rachel Solomon reports.
Two major developments Thursday on the banking front, helping calm the nerves of investors. 11 banks now stepping up to provide a financial lifeline to First Republic Bank. The regional U.S. bank facing significant challenges over the last week, similar to those that led to the demise of Silicon Valley Bank, including customers rushing to withdraw their money. The banks now stepping up include JPMorgan Chase, Bank of America, Citigroup, and Wells Fargo, who announced Thursday they are each making a $5 billion uninsured deposit into the bank. Also stabilizing markets today, news that Credit Suisse will be borrowing 50 billion francs from the Swiss Central Bank. That sent its shares surging. Now, this is a major development for the larger economy because Credit Suisse is considered a systemically important bank for the global markets. And that just means it's too important and too big to fail. Since SVB's troubles began last week, markets have been on a wild ride, posting volatile swings. So, what's ahead? Brian Levitt, a global market strategist for Invesco, that's an independent investment management firm, tells me we may not be out of the woods with regards to potentially seeing other bank challenges. However, policymakers stand ready to provide support, and the decline in inflation and end of rate hikes should provide some optimism. Rahel Solomon, CNN, New York.
The Biden administration is responding to calls for intervention in the death of Charlotte woman in Mexico. No arrests have been made nearly 6 months after the death of 25-year-old Shanquilla Robinson. Robinson's family sent a letter to President Biden and the Secretary of State requesting immediate diplomatic intervention. Robinson was vacationing with 6 other people in Cabo when she died from what the medical examiner called violent injuries. Robinson's family's lawyer is asking the Justice Department to step up their investigation.
We are asking for a high level of diplomatic intervention, and that just means that someone from the Department of State or the president himself has to step in and have a conversation with the head of state in Mexico. The head of federal law enforcement here has to have a conversation with the head of law enforcement in Mexico. The conversation has to be had in order to prioritize the case. I did have the opportunity on behalf of the family to kind of go on a fact-finding mission in Mexico. And the reason why was simple. The family was being ping-ponged. We know in America, and I'm a former prosecutor and so are you, that victims have rights. And so they have the right to be informed. They have the right to be kept abreast of what's happening in the case. And that's what was so shocking to me, that they were being given no information, which was leading all of us to believe that nothing was being done. And so going to Mexico and hearing from Mexican authorities directly that we've completed our investigation, we've submitted all of our evidence and our physical evidence to the United States already, and essentially the ball is in their court, was the biggest revelation of the trip. And understanding that, okay, now we're back and we need to focus on the United States either extraditing the person who's named in the investigation that the Mexican authorities conducted, or something even more simple. The United States could ask for concurrent jurisdiction and take over and do their own investigation of the case and prosecute the people responsible or person responsible here in the United States.
A federal appeals court is standing their ground on Florida's so-called anti-woke law, as it will still be blocked in the state's public colleges. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signed the Individual Freedom Act, preventing teaching or mandatory activities at schools and workplaces that suggest a person is privileged or oppressed based on their race, sex, skin color, or nationality. The act faces a number of legal challenges based on how it affects schools and workplaces. The U.S. District Judge blocked the act, calling the law positively dystopian. New updates are being released about the death of Virginia inmate Irvo Orientine. 3 workers at the Central State Mental Health Facility were also taken into custody and booked along with 7 sheriff's deputies. The Advocate Channel's John Lawrence reports.
Ivo Otieno was smothered to death by 7 Virginia sheriff's deputies who were restraining him while he was in custody on March 6th, according to Dinwiddie County prosecutors.
Justice for Ivo. That's all I'm looking for. I'm looking for answers. Why was my son murdered?
Otieno was arrested March 3rd after police responded to a possible burglary call. He was brought to a mental health facility 3 days later, where authorities allege he became physical.
He was not agitated and combative. He was held down on the ground, prone on the ground for 12 minutes.
Otieno's family and legal team have seen the surveillance video of the 28-year-old's last moments alive.
Why would any law enforcement officer put a knee on the neck of a person who is face down, handcuffed, and restrained?
On Thursday, 3 employees at the hospital were also arrested and charged with second-degree murder in connection to Otieno's death.
We're better than this, America. We are better than this.
Our hearts are broken, but our spirits are strong, and my brother's spirit is not done.
The Henrico Fraternal Order of Police issued a statement calling Otieno's death tragic, but added that the group stands behind the 7 deputies accused of murder. I'm John Lawrence reporting.
The Federal Communications Commission is cracking down on spam texts with new rules for telecom companies. New rules announced by the FCC require phone providers to block text messages from suspicious sources after a surge of consumer complaints tied to unwanted robo-texts over the years. Carriers will also have to block texts coming from numbers that claim not to ever send text messages or that the government has identified as a number not used for texting. Suspicious sources include phone numbers that appear to be invalid, unallocated, or unused. A similar effort to shut down legal robocalls in the U.S. has led to at least 1 phone provider being cut off entirely from the U.S. telephone network. Did you know that snoring in your sleep could actually be an indicator of something more dangerous? The Advocate Channel's Mandy Gaither has more on the health risk that snoring may be a sign of.
It can be annoying and disruptive to sleep.
Snoring by itself really is not much of a problem.
But Dr. Daniel Barone says it can be a sign of obstructive sleep apnea when muscles that support soft tissues in your throat relax, narrowing or closing your airway so that breathing is temporarily cut off. People with this condition may make gasping or snorting noises while sleeping.
Sleep apnea does not result in people choking to death or dying in their sleep, but what happens is the airway is closing off, and that can trigger them to wake up, even if they're not aware of it. Essentially, you're choking throughout the night, and it's almost as if your body is fighting against itself.
Barone says that can raise blood pressure and heart rate. Over time, that takes a toll on your body and can lead to heart attack or stroke.
If you snore and you're tired, or if you snore and you have other conditions associated with sleep apnea, for example, like diabetes or hypertension, you may want to get it tested because the snoring in that case could be representative of sleep apnea.
So the snoring's waking you up?
If sleep apnea is diagnosed, a CPAP machine can be worn at night.
It's going to blow pressurized air in here, which then goes all the way down to the back of the throat, and it's going to force the airway open. The snoring will be eliminated, but more importantly, the sleep apnea will also be eliminated.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Thank you for joining us for AC 24/7. For more content that advocates to you, go to advocatechannel.com and make sure you follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. For the Advocate Channel, I'm Lamont Baldwin.